put timer on me. I'll try to keep that part short.
Let's do it under an hour.
Hey, I'll talk some baseball with you.
It's never going to happen, Landon. It's never happening.
Purposely going to go long to spite Landon.
You've never been long.
3 hours, boys.
That's true.
What are you laughing at? Katie laughed at that. Big pop from the bed over there.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Dude, I hate her right now. Her Survivor team is kicking everybody's ass.
Do I see her through your microphone?
Yeah, she's asked me 4 times to move the microphone so she can see you guys. I'm like, I kind of have to sit in front of the mic. Oh, there's her hand. Do it again, babe.
It's like a weird.
Why does your microphone have a hand?
Babe, you can literally see the microphone in this random hand.
just a potato hand,
Jesus Christ.
Potato. Keep trying to tell her I have to sit in front of this thing. I can't just move it so that you can see everybody.
I'm keeping all of this in.
All of it, yeah.
Oh.
All of it.
Hey, baby,
We're recording now.
Before we intro,
you could be our Angelo State correspondent.
There we go.
They're big enough to have correspondence.
Name 3 sports Angelo State has. Okay. Lucky guess.
Fishing.
They actually do have
Rodeo, final answer.
We do have a rodeo team. It's not
Hey,
an NCAA sport anymore.
You know what's really funny about that, Zach? Virginia Tech doesn't have a single national championship in any sport. They're one of 2 schools. Virginia Tech and Kansas State do not have a national championship in any
Suck it,
sport
Hunter.
ever.
I'm so glad that Mississippi State got off that graphic a few years ago. Go ahead.
And,
used to be on that graphic.
And one of the things that Virginia Tech fans will tell you is that they have a national championship in bass fishing,
I love it.
which they do, but it's not a fucking sport. So it's kind of just funnier that they do have that and that they try to claim it. And yeah, so them and Kansas State needs to get off that.
Texas Tech is back to back national champions in meat judging.
Yeah,
Meat judging.
Oh,
a lot of cool.
Are you ready?
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
You know, they have those nerds clusters, which is new. Yeah, which is good.
10-5! Touchdown!
Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream rise to the top, oh yeah.
What are we doing?
Wild long faces, we're not dead yet.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
Welcome to Press Box After Dark. Today is Thursday, October 10th, and we were told this has to be the short episode, one of our shorter episodes of P-Bad. We'll see if we make it happen, Landon. I see you up there in your screen. We'll see. We like to talk, don't we, though? We always seem to make it long, more work for you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep holding on to it. I tried to put a clock on us today, but nobody liked it, so
yeah,
we'll see if this gets posted on Thursday.
Yeah,
No one is listening to your rules.
Cam's
Shout out
coming
King
to
Curtis.
us. That's the voice you heard. He's coming to us on location. What's up, buddy?
Doing well. Had a good weekend of college football this past weekend. I know we'll get into that. A lot of upsets. Yeah, just wonderful football all around. Every single time slot that day, from the noon kickoffs to the nightcap with Miami Cal, was just wonderful football. And yeah, I'm on site for JMU Coastal Carolina tomorrow. Drove up today to good old Harrisonburg, Virginia, here in the Valley, and we're gonna try and get us a W tomorrow.
I love it. Hunter, your screen says "suck it, Hunter." That's usually our line. What's going on with that, buddy?
Well, sometimes when you just get bullied by people that you consider friends, sometimes you just got to steer into the skid. And so I think if I write it on the screen, then it doesn't hurt me as much, so I don't have to cry later. No, I'm just kidding.
You're still going to cry, though, right?
I am going to cry. I love you guys. I love this podcast. Cameron, I do have to say that I do hope JMU bounces back. I am the sole reason that JMU lost last week. I am a kiss of death to any football team that I root for or keep up with because of my friends. And I was in the stadium at Malone Stadium. Shout out Malone Stadium in Monroe, Louisiana. as the fighting ULM Warhawks got a huge upset victory over JMU. So I'm sorry about that, Cameron. It was my fault. But I met your buddy Zach, and who works for JMU. 10 out of 10 for Zach. I know he's watching the Yankees in the background right now, so we're probably going to hear him cuss a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. We're in the bottom of the 8th right now. That's funny. We're live with the Yankees right now. So
Yeah.
if Zach starts
day
cussing, things have gone terribly wrong.
Listeners are like, the Yankees are playing right now?
He just said, "Fuck."
I love it. This is going to be a great episode.
I don't know if you could hear that on the, but
Loud and clear.
We've officially matched our season total for F-bombs.
Well, here we go. And my wife's not even going to be on the pod tonight, so
gonna have to put that E on the old podcast. But to get back to what Hunter was saying, yes, absolutely, you are the reason that JMU lost that game. I told you before you even went to the game that if you go and JMU loses, that it was going to be your fault because you root for terrible teams, and yeah, it's just your fault. Now, on a serious note, I was very upset that night. I told everyone, I was complaining in the group chat. No one was responding to me except for Hunter. Everyone knew that I was mad. I was complaining that JMU played bad. Now, on a real level, ULM came out and they won that game. They played well. I think they game planned really well. They took everything away from JMU that they wanted to do on offense. They got pressure on Barnett the entire game, and that's what they needed to win that game. They did it. I think at the same time, JMU did play very poorly. They gave away free points on a scoop and score. The defense wasn't terrible, but just wasn't as sharp as they usually are. But it's one loss. And, afterwards, I kind of said to myself, I mean, right now it looks like the playoff spot for the group of 5 is simply just Boise State's to lose. I don't, even if JMU went undefeated, I don't know that they're going to jump Boise State unless something crazy happens. Which note?
Oh, go ahead.
Side note, I kind of want to talk about this tonight if we get an opportunity, but Army or Navy could get that spot if Boise State drops a game.
I really think, though,
if we have time to talk about that, I definitely will.
I really do think, though, I need to pass over to Jordan so he can say hello. He's staring at his PlayStation right now. But I do want Army and Navy to go on this magical run, but I really think the nation needs to see Ashton Genty in the playoff. The guy is unreal at Boise State. He needs to be in the playoff for sure. All right, Jordan, come on and talk a little bit here and get off the PS5.
Hey, I thought this was just going to be like the group chat where Cam and Hunter just go back and forth all day.
The whole time.
I'm glad I got to be here, even though I got forgotten about.
Is that all?
That's it. That's his intro.
Yeah, just the last podcast we talked about Hunter's terrible Mississippi State Bulldogs and their trip to Austin.
Hey, shut up. We covered. We beat y'all's ass. We covered.
Shout out the bye week.
Really need Hunter to become an Oklahoma fan this week for me.
I tell you what, this last weekend, I don't think I was expecting it to be good. I don't think the slate jumped out as like, these are going to be good games. And then it was awesome. And then the NFL had its longest day literally ever. It might have been one of the best football weekends ever. It was
a
awesome.
Good football weekend.
It was unbelievable.
It was. We got to talk about that. We got a lot of stuff planned. I know Landon's very excited about that because I know he loves recording this podcast and then editing this podcast for us. So shout out Landon again, best producer in the business. We will do Hang the Banner to end the show as we always do. Going to do a little podcast version of 3 Up, 3 Down. Jordan took a couple weeks off to enjoy the MLB playoffs, but he's going to touch on the MLB playoffs. Obviously, we've already talked about the Yankees a little bit, but we'll do that. Going to bring back trivia, a way that we used to do it when we were all living together in Abilene, Texas. So we got a 6-pack trivia challenge tonight. That should be fun. We did schedule our Baylor correspondent, Emily. Unfortunately, Emily was not able to make it to the podcast. She clearly is better than all 5 of us, and she has signed a deal with Apple Music to record her own podcast as the Baylor correspondent for herself. So good luck, Emily, on the bigger and better things. We'll go over our picks for the week. We got to talk about the NCAA. They just killed the National Letter of Intent. The Jets fired Robert Saleh. Cameron was in a music video. And we got to talk about a little bit of college football. We already touched on it. But where you can find us and who we are, again, Zach said it, but we're Press Box After Dark. You can follow us on Twitter, PressBoxAD. We are at we're at 475 followers. We'll see if we can get to 500 followers on the PBAT account by the end of the weekend. That would be massive. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, at PressBoxAD, follow us there.
How many more followers do we need to get to 500?
25.
Oh, he is smart enough to do it.
Yeah, we are 25 followers away. If you don't want to catch us on Twitter, you can catch us on TikTok at PressBoxAD. We have over 1,000 likes on TikTok, so that was pretty good. I thought that was pretty solid. You can catch us on Instagram at PressBoxAfterDark, and then our main website is in our Twitter bio. That is PressBoxAfterDark.com. You can find blogs from Zach about the NFL, Jordan about Major League Baseball, myself about college football picks. And all of our podcasts are on our website, PressBoxAfterDark.com. You can also listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music. If you do listen, please subscribe to our podcast and then leave us a 5-star review. I know on Apple Music, if you leave a 5-star review, it should leave a way to contact you via email. If you do that, we got some stickers. I'm getting more stickers made. So if you leave us a 5-star review and you can prove to us that you left us a 5-star review, I will send you a sticker of our beautiful faces that Zach made our logo out of, which is much better than the logo I originally made for this podcast. And then I got to give some quick shout outs real quick to a few people that reached out to us and a few people that we know that are doing good things in the world of sports right now. Got to give a shout out to our friend Alexis Cable, Team Cable, assistant soccer coach at the University of North Texas. They are currently 7-1-1 on the year. They are 3-1-1 in conference, and they have a couple of big games coming up, but they're killing it right now. Oh, they're 7-3-3 overall, 3-1-1 in conference. Sorry if I messed that up the first time. But they have some big games coming up against UTSA and Rice. So shout out to Cable and the North Texas Mean Green soccer team. Keep doing y'all's thing in the American Conference. Go win that thing. Got to give a shout out to my buddy Big Jake. He had a 5-leg parlay that hit last weekend, and he used some of our picks to do it. He had, listen to this parlay, guys. He had Navy minus 9.5, Florida plus 2.5, Penn State money line, Coastal Carolina minus 5.5 at Old Dominion, and then he had Ohio State minus 18.5. Zach's clapping in the background because the Yankees just did something. But his parlay hit, so good for him. And he actually used our picks, so we kind of know ball a little bit, but not much. And then shout out to College Football Talk Daily on Twitter. They DM'd us, wished us good luck on trying to grow the podcast. They're going to help us out a little bit using their Discord. So I got to give a shout out to them on Twitter. But the first thing that I want to talk about tonight on the podcast before we get into some other good stuff is fucking Vanderbilt. Am I right?
What an intro.
Emily uses the F word one time, and you just
Nope. We just broke the F-bomb barrier.
I'm sorry, Mom. I had to say the F-bomb because, I mean, Vanderbilt beat Alabama. It was their first win ever over an AP number 1 ranked team. They were 0-60 all time before then.
They didn't have one before then?
No, they were 0-60. And their last win over – yeah, they're
Football
God,
Power Vandy.
you piece of shit.
Football Power Vandy did not have a win against an AP number 1. That's just stunning.
Are we done with the sarcasm? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But Vanderbilt, I think it was the upset of the weekend. You had Vandy took down Bama. Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Michigan lost to Washington. USC lost to Minnesota. Louisville lost to SMU, and UNLV was 25. They lost to Syracuse. Is that 7 or 6 ranked teams that went down last weekend?
I think we gotta caveat the Michigan thing. They are not.
Yeah, they're not. But I got to circle back to Vandy real quick. They had 418 yards of total offense against Bama. They held the ball for 42 minutes to Bama's 17 minutes. Vanderbilt did that to Alabama. That's absolutely insane. I kept watching the game, and then we had to go to the ULM-JMU game, and I was in the stadium, and I was trying to get updates on my phone, but my phone, the cell service was pretty bad. but my mom called me, and I knew why my mom was calling me during the middle of that game, and all she said was Vanderbilt did it. And then she had to hang up because I lost cell service. But that was just insane that Vanderbilt goes, well, they didn't go anywhere. They were in Nashville. They pull off the win. They tear down the goalpost, and they march the goalpost 50 minutes all the way to Broadway, and then they throw it in the Cumberland River. Absolutely insane. Has anybody, this is a good question real quick, has anybody ever been a part of a field storming? Because I never have.
No. That sounds painful, honestly. That
I sent a picture of one of the guys that works on the digital team for Vanderbilt. I think I sent it to Hunter and Cam on Twitter, and it was him standing next to the base of the goalpost, just what was left of the goalpost, and it was actually one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen.
if they ever do it again, like, you have to throw the goalpost in the river now. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. That's so awesome. Like, that's something those students will never forget.
The absolute funniest part of the whole thing was 2 or 3 weeks earlier on game day, Nick Saban said, the only place in the SEC that you don't have to worry about playing is Vanderbilt, and then Vanderbilt straight played it on the video board at the Final Horn.
But didn't he, what was the stat? He gave up like 16 total points or something stupid to Vanderbilt in his like career against them. He killed them.
Yeah, so it's funny because like this happened a few years ago where Vandy was like ranked 23rd and they were undefeated, and then Bama was number 1 and they were undefeated, and there was this Vanderbilt offensive lineman. I know the clip went viral. He was like, "Bama's going to learn that we play real SEC ball. If you come in here, you know, y'all are going to see what we got at Vanderbilt." And they ended up getting beat that night. I think it was 52-0.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, this just doesn't happen. But, I mean, shout out to Diego Pavia, the quarterback who came over from New Mexico State. Tim Beck is also the offensive coordinator that coached him at New Mexico State. And Jerry Kill was the head coach last year at New Mexico State. That's a 10-win team from last year, and they went to Auburn and won. The thing that I took away from this game more than anything, especially with the Arkansas result as well, sometimes these people in the SEC, and I'm somewhat guilty of it a little bit, but I'm not right now because he's building up, Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby is. But Clark Lee, biggest win in Vanderbilt history. Sam Pittman beats number 4 Tennessee. Maybe people shouldn't be calling for a coach's head after, a couple of games or one bad loss, because these two guys have built their programs up. They have put a good foundation down, and now you're seeing them get, a little bit, better and start to compete more. And I know it's taken some time, but I was really impressed with everything that Vanderbilt did, and Arkansas too, for that matter.
Upsets are one of the most fun parts of college football. They just are. And if you're a team like Vanderbilt, nobody in a million years would have ever thought Vanderbilt would beat Alabama under any circumstance. So when you say the upset of the weekend, that's the upset of the year, maybe more than that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest win, the biggest football win anyway in Vanderbilt's history by a lot.
And Alabama just played that classic game against Georgia the week before. I mean, that game was insane.
Yeah. How's that for the SEC schedule?
Yeah.
Beat Georgia one week, lose to Vanderbilt the next.
Yeah. That's the biggest win in the last 5 years at least. I'll go that far. I don't know about further than that. But that's the biggest upset in the last 5 years, I would think.
I honestly can't think of one. I know there was that one a few years ago when A&M with Zach Calzada had no business beating Alabama. That's the only one that I think of that maybe even comes close. But even then, like, A&M has a talent roster that is somewhat equal to Alabama. Vanderbilt does not. And so I think you're correct in that statement. That's the biggest upset in the last 5 years, maybe even the last decade.
And A&M had beaten Alabama before. So, Vandy? I mean, yeah.
I mean, so in terms of importance of the upset, I think you're probably right in saying that Vanderbilt over Alabama is the biggest one. For some reason, I'm not even going to say for some reason, I hate Virginia Tech as a West Virginia fan. I think the record still stands unless it was broken in like the last 5 or 6 years. Back in like 2018, I want to say, 2018 or 2019, I think based purely on spread of the game, Virginia Tech lost to Old Dominion, and I think they were like 4 or 5 touchdown favorites. That was like 6 or 7 years ago. They lost to Old Dominion. I remember them saying that was by like spread the biggest upset ever. I just don't know how you can lose with that big of a spread.
I do think you're right, but also too, we've had this year alone, we're almost forgetting about it. Northern Illinois won at Notre Dame as a 28.5-point favorite, right? Or
That's not
underdog,
Alabama,
sorry.
dude. That's not Alabama, and that's not Vanderbilt.
I understand that, but I'm talking about from like a point spread like perspective there. But no, I do agree. I think Vanderbilt over Bama is way bigger than Northern Illinois over Notre Dame. The Notre Dame is that they do that from time to time now. So
It's not App State over Michigan, but
Mm.
it's this equivalent of that in 2024.
I do think that it begs another question: how many 2-loss teams are going to get into the playoff?
Probably like 3 or 4.
At least a couple, right?
I think
Maybe even more, maybe 5. Yeah. I mean,
you could have a conference champion with 2 losses.
When you increase from 4 to 12, I mean that's a substantial increase.
Let's get real weird right now. Let's say Oklahoma beats Texas, but then Oklahoma loses too. It ends up being Texas and Georgia in the SEC championship. The loser of that game has to get into the CFP, right? In that scenario.
I think so. I mean,
it's going to be complicated.
There's so many other things to come into play.
And one thing too,
for sure.
Now that we're talking about the playoff, I do want to talk about that Army-Navy situation because I don't know if you guys saw this. They were talking about it on Barstool Sports. Just the crazy situations that could play out with Army and Navy. So Army and Navy are both 5-0 right now. And they're both in the American. A lot of people didn't even know that. A lot of people thought that they were still independent, but no, they're both in the American. And they both have pretty favorable schedules remaining, but they both play Notre Dame. As we were just talking about, Notre Dame just lost to Northern Illinois a couple weeks ago. And what they were talking about on the Barstool podcast was basically, what if Army and Navy, just throwing out a crazy scenario, what if Army and Navy both beat Notre Dame and then they run the table, they're both 12-0. They both play against each other in the American Conference Championship. The winner of that game could absolutely be the team that goes to the playoff. And then the week after that is the Army-Navy week where they play each other. What if the team who wins the conference championship then loses the Army-Navy game? Then what happens?
But
wouldn't that be crazy?
That game is after the playoff seeds are already
determined. Right, and that's why it's so crazy.
So that would basically like be a bowl game to get them ready for the playoff. You know what I mean?
Right.
See, that would suck too because if they're in it, so like, let's say it's Navy, and then let's say Navy wins the American, and then they turn around and play Army. Let's say Army beats them, so Army gets nothing for that but pride, and then Navy has to turn around the next week and then play the first round against the best non-bye team in the playoff, or the number 5 team, the best non-conference champion. So that's brutal for Navy if that happens, because that's just, they have no time to rest at all.
It'd be so cool to see, though.
Listen, I've said this for a long, long time. In my list of college football rivalries, and I know we at some point are probably going to get into the best rivalries in college football on this pod, but Army-Navy to me is one of those that I want to see it in person, man. I would go do that in a heartbeat over a lot of other ones that I think are much more overrated.
I had an opportunity to a couple years ago, but I wasn't able to. I was out in Texas. My buddy used to go to Navy, and I had a ticket, but wasn't able to go.
Landon can attest to this. Him and I went to Army. Were you on that trip, Landon, during the COVID year?
Yeah.
Yeah. We went up there. ACU played them. And everywhere in that stadium, all it says is beat Navy. Everywhere. Go Army, beat Navy. They were playing Abilene Christian. And at the end of every video, it's go Army, beat Navy. They don't care about anything except for beating Navy. It is the greatest rivalry. That game in Philly or wherever, it is the coolest game every single year.
Yeah, I think
And
we're
on
gonna
the
do a trip up
sorry,
there.
Landon.
I think we're gonna need to do a trip up there
We
at some
should.
point
That'd be cool.
because that game is awesome. I mean, like you said, it's one of the most deeply rooted rivalries in college football, in my opinion, and it's awesome.
And on the flip side of that, Zach, my dad, when he was playing baseball in high school, he was being recruited by a few different schools, and one of them was Navy. And he went on a visit there, and he said it was basically the exact same thing, just reversed. Right. He said, he talked about how he went into the dining hall during lunch, and the freshmen at Navy, they're called plebes. They aren't allowed to talk unless they're spoken to, or if it's to say "Go Navy, beat Army." And it's just crazy, the military academy, the service academy life, and football rivalries that they have is just so different. I think it makes college football great.
It was so cool.
I will have to shout out Jimmy. He was in the Navy. So every single year when that game comes on, I always root for Navy. So I will say this is a deep cut to all of our listeners that actually listen to every episode. Episode 1, we said we were going to go to the Little League World Series in like 2027. And we also said we were going to go to the 2028 Olympics. Let's just throw it out there. Before all that, 2026 Army-Navy game, Press Box After Dark, live from the Army-Navy game as a group.
Who's paying?
Okay.
Well, maybe if we actually start betting our locks the way. Well, no, if we start betting our picks, we'll probably be in more debt than if we were to actually bet. So I don't know. Maybe we win the lottery. Is that an option?
Seems pretty unlikely.
Okay. What if we? You think we could probably break into the Army-Navy game? That's probably the least secure game in all of college football, right? Okay. No, it was a wild weekend of college football. There's so many upsets to talk about, so many things that we could talk about last weekend for years, I think, and still wouldn't be able to put in perspective how wild it was. Real quick, though, before we move on from college football, Jordan, are we a little scared of the Red River?
I'm always scared of the Red River.
Yeah.
Texas had their best year in a decade last year, and Oklahoma was the riddle they still couldn't solve. And Oklahoma was down.
Throw everything out the window in all rivalry games.
Yeah, they've got a quarterback that's coming back from 3 weeks of an injury. You don't know how he's going to play. Oklahoma's defense is better than they've been. Yeah, I'm always nervous about that game. Texas had a 3-touchdown lead a few years ago, and Kyler Murray transformed that into a tie game in 4.5 minutes.
Let me ask you a question. This is for everybody. Are rivalry games your favorite game to watch every year or your least favorite game to watch?
I go back and forth on this because as a Texas fan, you live for Texas OU. That's a fun one. But the next week you get to turn around and play Georgia. That's going to be a fun one. The next week you get to turn around and play Vandy, who all of a sudden looks like a real football team. That's a fun one. I kind of hate the Colorado State games. I kind of hate the games where your team's favored by 3, 4, 5 touchdowns sometimes because it's not fun anymore after the second quarter. It's the backups padding stats.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with rivalries for a while. Iowa was winning all their trophy games almost every year. It was like 7 straight wins over Minnesota, 7 over Nebraska, like 7 over Iowa State. So I was having a lot of fun with it, but I almost dread that Iowa State game every year, like a little bit. I think I'd rather know we're going to get killed by Ohio State than like be the team that's supposed to beat Iowa State and then you lose at home on some terrible defense in the final 30 seconds.
I also schedule my Saturdays around what time the Horns play, especially now that they're good again. So I do appreciate when they play a bum team, and it's 42-0 at the half, and I'm like, okay, great. I can go do whatever else with the rest of my day now because this one's in hand. Like you don't have to worry about the comeback or the upset at that point. But like the Red River game, like my brother's coming into town for that. Things might be yelled or shouted or thrown. You just don't know how that game's going to go.
See, and for me, with Mississippi State really only having one rival, and you have other rivals, but there's one trophy that they play for, and it's the last game of the year. And I honestly, I dread the Egg Bowl every single year because it is one of the weirdest rivalries. Something's going to happen. Somebody's going to piss like a dog. There's going to be a brawl. Coaches could get fired immediately at the end of the game. I always dread the Egg Bowl because I know that I'm either going to be excited and happy for the next 365 days, or I'm going to be absolutely miserable having to listen to those idiots up in Oxford talk about how they beat us, blah, 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 blah. I honestly, I love the rivalry itself, but like watching the game, my stomach's always turning because I know that at any point this could get really, 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 really bad.
But listen, rivalries like that, especially in-state rivalries like that, Texas OU is at a neutral site. That adds a little bit element to it. To me, like part of being a college football fan is the stress that your team puts you through in those kind of games. And now that Texas is good again and Oklahoma's ranked again, like this should be the most fun Red River game in several years now.
Also, real quick, one more time. Ole Miss fans, I know you don't listen, and when you do find this, because I know you will, because we're going to make this thing, this thing's going to take off one day. When you listen to this, listen good. Huh?
Don't forget about Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Kyle can listen to this too. I know you Ole Miss fans care about the Egg Bowl. My number one pet peeve with those pieces of shit is that they will sit there and say, oh, when y'all beat Mississippi State, leave the egg over there on the field. We don't even need it. They're below us. They're beneath us. That is such a lie. Those players want that trophy more than anything, and you know it, and so do you as a fan base. God, I hate them.
Is it just like a store-bought egg?
So the story behind it is that back in the 1920s, the fan bases fought so much that they decided to have a trophy be bought as a sign of sportsmanship, just so the fans wouldn't fight each other so much. And the trophy they bought was supposed to look like a football, but then somebody coined it, that's not a football, that's an egg, because it looks like an egg. And then the Egg Bowl term started in the early 70s and it stuck.
That's a shit.
I was really hoping that you were going to tell us that they just bought a dozen trophies at a time and painted them gold.
A carton?
Yeah.
A carton of trophies.
I went off on a rant there. I'm sorry. But now, great weekend of college football ahead. Ohio State, Oregon, LSU, Ole Miss, Colorado, Kansas State is the nightcap. Red River. What a great weekend ahead. But I think we want to give Cameron the spotlight here because this might be Cameron's last ever podcast appearance because we won't be able to afford him.
Don't forget the little people.
Cameron had an unbelievable experience, and I don't even know if I can put it into words. So, Cameron, take the floor and explain how you are now way more famous than all of us.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter kind of talked about it at the beginning very briefly. I was in a music video somehow.
Insane.
So the artist that I was in the music video for, his name is Quinn92, branded with the Roman numerals 92 XCII. It was a crazy experience. So basically, it goes back to college for me. When I was in college, he actually came to JMU my freshman year. He played at a fraternity there. I wasn't there that day, but he was kind of doing, as he was growing, he was kind of doing some appearances at colleges. And so after that, people started listening to him more at JMU. My friends really caught on to him. And then a couple years later, then I started listening more to him during college. And at one point, one of my friends was basically like, you look exactly like him. And, we would kind of laugh about it, and I never really believed it. And then after college, we went to see him out at Red Rocks out in Denver. And when we got there were legitimately so many people that thought I was him, or people that thought I looked like him and wanted to take pictures and whatnot. My friends made a funny TikTok video about it. The artist himself, Quinn, he actually did see it and like reacted, made like a reaction video to it. So like this is something that's like been in not that it's been in the works for me to be in his music video, but something that's like been a run on, an ongoing kind of funny thing for the past few years. And not randomly, he's been releasing new music this year. And he had a new music video coming out, and he put on Instagram, he put a video up, was basically like, hey, we have an interesting idea for this new music video. We're going to hire, we're looking for a doppelganger of mine to play in this music video. So I basically sent in a video. I made it to the second interview, I guess you would say, where I actually filmed me lip syncing to the song. And then I sent a few clips in. They got back to me and they're like, "Hey, we want to put you in the music video," and it came out literally yesterday. The song is called "Sober Up." It's a really good song. He's got some bops. A lot of people, when they ask me like who's Quinn 92, it's hard to explain. He makes, I guess you would categorize it as pop music, but he makes Midwest bangers. He's from Michigan. He makes some very cool music, and yeah, it was just a cool experience to be part of. It's a cool music video, very cool concept. There's probably, I don't know, I'd have to go back and watch it and count, but there's probably like 20 to 30 different people in the music video that um, either look like Quinn or trying to be like him. And it's just very cool, kind of cool to see the fan base come together and make a music video. That's has nothing to do with sports at all, uh, but it was something cool that happened in my life this week.
It's awesome. It's so cool. The
I thought
music
it was
video
cool.
is a bop too.
Yeah, I my favorite part, honestly, was the very beginning, like the first 30 seconds. He's on tour right now, which is why he couldn't film a music video. And he was just like pre-show. They had finished the music video, and he was just watching it, reacting to it, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, very cool experience all around.
So Quinn, if you're listening, you got to give us some kind of shout out at some point for Press Box After Dark, because Cameron stepped up for you, and along with all of your other fans that were in the video. Do check it out, because one, it's a good show, good song, and then two, Cameron basically starts the video. He's like the first or second person on there, so Cameron gets the video going. So definitely go check that out. Cameron, I'm very jealous. That was awesome. I'm glad that somebody in this group applied for something on like a national scale and actually got in. I'm looking at you, Survivor. You won't cast me, you bums. But that was pretty cool. So I'm glad you got that experience, buddy. That was awesome. I know it's not really sports related, but that was cool. That's way too cool for us not to mention that on the podcast. So, but we are going to go back into the world of sports and talk about one of the crazier things that happened this week. We normally record on Sundays or Mondays, so I think we would actually miss this, but we had to delay it a little bit. So the Jets fired their head coach, almost out of left field, maybe, at least to me, but maybe not to the trained eye. So we're going to let Zach kind of lead us here because he's our NFL guy. Zach, what is going on in New York?
Well, I'm no Adam Schefter, so I don't know. That news, so they played in London over the weekend, lost to the undefeated Vikings, who are killing good teams, and they look great. They lost to their old quarterback in Sam Darnold. And Tuesday morning, they fired Robert Saleh. I don't really understand that after a 2-3 start. Like, Aaron Rodgers is playing terrible. The offense is a disaster. The defense is still very good, and he's a defensive coach. He was the D coordinator in San Francisco for a long time. But this just feels like he's kind of a weird, like, scapegoat type thing for a organization that is an absolute disaster and has been my entire lifetime. I don't understand it. If I was a Jets fan, I don't really know how I would feel if I was I would hate everything all the time if I was a Jets fan. But I don't really get the firing of him. If you're going to fire anybody, you should fire Nathaniel Hackett, who's a terrible offensive coordinator. So I don't really get it. He apparently was blindsided. It's going to make for must-see TV Monday night when they play Buffalo, but that I don't know. It's just a really odd situation. I don't know how firing a coach after 5 weeks is going to help really anything. So that's what I got.
So, I mean, what you said about the scapegoat thing, that's really the only thing that comes to my mind that makes sense. You're 2-3, and like you said, it's only 5 weeks. There's a lot of coaches, including my Rams, Sean McVay, who would love to be 2-3 right now, but instead they're
Right.
1-4. But
And
it kind of
beat Buffalo, Cam, they're in first place.
Right. And it kind of, like you said, it kind of seemed that it came out of left field a little bit. I think on top of the scapegoat thing, I think the only other piece of rationale that I can think of is yes, the defense is really good and Rodgers isn't playing great, but maybe the ownership thinks look, we have these pieces, we need to put it together. This is an opportunity, and they're trying to figure it out. Maybe they don't see how do you pronounce his last name? I'm sorry, Salah?
I think it's Salah.
I think it's Salah.
So maybe they don't see him as, the guy that can get them there, and they realize that they have a good team that can, make it to the playoffs, make a push, but they don't see him as the guy. But I mean, back to the 5-week thing. I mean, he's how do you know that early on that he's not going to be the guy to take you? Especially after last year when Rodgers was out the entire season. I mean, I just don't know how you can have enough of a sample size to know that he's not going to be the guy.
He didn't even get a full year with Aaron. So, I mean, how do we know? I mean, it's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be a relationship thing between him and Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, I think the shove thing on the sideline.
Well, I mean, I watched Hard Knocks last year because they were Hard Knocks. And, I mean, it seemed like I liked the guy. I kind of liked him a lot. I liked how he was kind of, a hard-nosed, in-your-face kind of guy. I think that you kind of need that somewhat in the NFL a little bit because, I mean, you're dealing with, professional athletes, and I think you can't be, everybody's friend, but you also have to be, a little bit, of a hard-nosed guy. And I think he was doing fine. I don't know. That's my only explanation is that I'm not saying that it was Rodgers, but wasn't Nathaniel Hackett the guy that got ran out of Pittsburgh last year, or am I getting offensive coordinators confused?
No, this is so Nat Hackett was the head coach in Denver with Russ 2 years ago.
That's what it was. Okay.
During the season, and he was Aaron Rodgers' OC a couple of years in Green Bay there at the end, and he was like, no, we got to bring him to New York. And Aaron Rodgers was like, we got to bring Randall Cobb and all these other guys to Alan Lazard to New York. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that Aaron Rodgers doesn't know what's going on.
I'm gonna jump in on this. It's 100% Aaron Rodgers. This is the third or fourth coach that Aaron Rodgers has gotten fired. If Aaron Rodgers was playing better, they don't fire Robert Saleh. Pretty simple. Now, with that, is there any doubt that they're going to hire Hackett as the head coach permanently? I know they named the DC the interim, but I think when it comes to the offseason, I think they promote Hackett. And I tell you what I think they should do. There's a coach that's sitting out there that's itching to get back into coaching after he got fired. His name's Bill Belichick. That's the first person I'd be calling.
Yeah, I would, but I don't think it's an attractive job.
It's not right now.
And I think
especially if Aaron Rodgers continues to be at the center of the problems with the coaches.
But I think that's a good point, Jordan. I think that's why you call Bill Belichick, because it's same division. I mean, he might feel motivated to come back to New York and beat up on the Patriots if he gets the chance. Who knows?
And he's worked with a quarterback that's had a little bit of an ego before. It's a little bit different kind with Aaron Rodgers. He's certainly less likable than Tom Brady. But if anybody can try to fix it, and by fix it, I don't mean go win you a Super Bowl. I mean get this thing to 8 or 9 wins a year, 2 or 3 years in a row. Let him finally retire, and somebody else has the reins, and they're coming in a good spot.
The reality though, and here's what I meant about maybe Salah wasn't the guy, because they realize that they have an opportunity, is because they do have an opportunity. The Patriots are terrible. The Dolphins, even though they have this
The Dolphins
great
don't have a
offense,
quarterback.
yeah, they don't have a quarterback now, so they're out. Who's the other team in the AFC East that I'm missing?
The Bills.
The Bills.
The Bills.
Who aren't playing particularly well.
Right, exactly.
And that window is about to
they've been better.
come closed real fast because they've already shipped
Yeah.
Diggs out of town. They're going to look a lot different in a year or two.
But and you never know when, with Josh Allen's a generational talent. You never know when they're going to snap out of it, and so the Bills could just all of a sudden regain. I mean, they're obviously the best team in that division right now, but they could just take it to another level, and maybe that's what they're seeing in New York is like, we have the opportunity to be the number 2 team here and possibly get in the playoffs. That's the only rationale I can think of.
I'm with Zach. You can't convince me that Aaron Rodgers didn't know that that Saleh was getting fired before Saleh knew.
Oh, I agree 100%.
I think people are overvaluing this Jets team. They're not good. They're not good. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been good in 3 years, guys. Like, he was the MVP in 21. 22 was a bad final year in Green Bay. And he's 40, about to turn 41.
And nobody likes him. He's the least likable dude in the entire league.
Their stats for first 5 games last year and first 5 games this year are the exact same. They are not any better.
Also, here's another little caveat. There's been some big name receivers that have been thrown out as trade targets. If you add Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill to that offense, that might turn some things around for you too. But you can't put that on your defensive head coach.
They're trying to go get Devontae. I don't think that's the magical solve.
If anybody watched Receiver on Netflix, Devontae Adams wants out of Las Vegas so freaking bad, it's not even crazy.
I don't think it fixes all their problems. I think it helps get the thing going in the right direction so you can salvage something.
Yeah.
Here's my only thing, though. I love how Cameron was like, "Oh, they're a great team," and Zach's like, "They're not that great." I love that,
I think their talent is a little overvalued.
I would say this though is that if you call Bill Belichick, you got to call Bill for sure. But like,
he's not going to
Rodgers. How many years does Rodgers have left realistically? Because like, if Rodgers leaves, does Bill then retire? Let's say that they call Belichick, and let's say they go on a run, and I'm not saying they win the Super Bowl, but let's say they just go on a run, and then Rodgers retires after 2 years. Does Bill Belichick also retire? Because do you want to leave the fate of your franchise and the guy that was like, Mac Jones is doing this thing for me in New England, and it just didn't work, and then they ended up firing him?
It depends on how bad you want to win in the short term.
I think Belichick wants to break Shula's record.
Yes.
And he probably needs a couple seasons to do that. I don't think it's in New York. I think there's going to be a lot. There's always,
and it may not be,
jobs,
but he's my first call if I'm the Jets.
Come open.
He's the first guy I'm calling, expecting him to say no.
I think Philadelphia is a job that's going to maybe come open if they squander. I think if Dallas underperforms, that's a job that might pop open. You've got I don't know what the Raiders are doing. I don't know. I think there are better situations than what the Jets are doing.
There are, but if you're the Jets, your due diligence is to call Bill Belichick.
Cincinnati, if that job pops open,
but you have to call him, right?
For sure. I would be stunned if Bill was like, yeah,
I could see Bill Belichick, exactly what Cameron said. I could see Bill Belichick being petty enough to say, I'm going to go shove it against New England twice a year for the way they handled it at the end. Yeah. And that could be the only motivator in Bill Belichick going to the Jets.
I don't think Robert Saleh is a good head coach. I do think it makes sense to fire him. It does not make sense to fire him October 8th. After 5 games. Why
a game out of first place?
What does that do for you? What does that get you?
And if your star quarterback is playing well, you're not even having this conversation.
Right. He's not been good. They are not an offense that does anything well. Breece Hall's averaging 2 yards a carry. He's been terrible.
And I think Breece Hall's a special talent.
Yeah.
But
it makes me think the scheme's not very good.
Bingo.
Yeah, and Jordan wanted to trade me Braylon Allen in fantasy football.
And you accepted.
I did. Well, you gave me Tyreek Hill.
One moment after saying Braylon Allen's garbage, I get a notification. Cameron has accepted the trade.
That's because the trade terms changed.
Gosh, if you guys want to know what our fantasy football league is like, All of the games conclude, and then Tuesday morning, every single one of us gets a separate text from Jordan. My team sucks. Hey, who do you want to get rid of right now? Hey, here are 3 people. Tell me who to drop, or tell me who you want in a trade, or what will it take to get rid of Cooper Kupp?
Hold on. I would like to point out that all 4 people on this podcast have made trades with me this season. We're in week 5.
Yeah, no, I really was desperate for a quarterback. So I got Derek Carr, and now he's on IR.
I made a trade with Cameron. I tried to go to Hunter. Hunter didn't work. So I tried to make a trade with Cameron.
Fantasy football sucks.
I actually proposed another trade to somebody in the league, and then Cameron texted me back, so I canceled the other trade. But I made a trade because I had to activate somebody off of waivers. So I was going to do a 2-for-1. And we approved the trade. Everything got done. And then like 30 minutes later, another one of my dudes ended up on IR, rendering the trade completely pointless for me.
So many injuries. It's so stupid.
But it's fine.
Hey, did anybody pick up Spencer Rattler since Derek Carr's out? Did anybody pick him up?
No, some of us are actually trying to win.
I mean, I got Baker Mayfield. I'm fine.
Landon doesn't make waiver moves ever.
Jordan loves
I don't
back,
think
so.
anyone has any interest in picking up Spencer Rattler. I saw that dude play one college football game against West Virginia in Norman, and he got booed off the field.
It's terrible.
Jordan Love.
I think it was Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams played the rest of that game.
I got my starter back, and Jordan Love throws interceptions falling out of the back of the end zone at the 3-yard line. So we're doing great, guys.
Every week I look to go see who leads the league in moves on the waiver wire, and it's always me and Cameron neck and neck, and Landon 5-6 weeks in, whatever it is, still at, what are you at, Landon? 2?
No, not even. I don't think.
I think it might be 0. I think Emily's at 0 and Landon might be at 1.
Let me check.
Landon's trying to pick up Jim Thorpe.
Yep, we are 1-4 on
the last Heisman Trophy winner he can name.
Losing 4 streak currently.
Yeah, I saw that you have a win or a playoff percentage of like 9 or 10% or something. It's not good, bud.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Well, I will say this. We're talking trash about Landon. Landon is the only one of us of the podcast that has his name on our fantasy football trophy, which is just a giant golden middle finger. So Landon did win the first year.
That a blind squirrel can win a nut every once in a while.
Hey, look at Survivor Fantasy too, buddy.
I mean, Vanderbilt did beat Alabama. Landon did win fantasy one time. So
yes, Landerbilt.
There you well, since we bring up Vanderbilt and college athletics, the NCAA decided today, right before this afternoon, that I had to add this in the podcast, there is no longer the national letter of intent. Who wants to start this one?
I'll go first. So at first I thought about this. I saw it and I was shocked. Like, oh my gosh, this is so huge for college athletics. It's not. This is the world we've been trending toward since the moment that name, image, and likeness became a thing. Everybody lives in the transfer portal except Dabo Swinney. This is where it was always headed. It was always headed to a place where the NCAA is not the governing body. This, to me, eliminates, oh, well, this kid flipped. Everybody's a free agent. And this season, we're seeing dudes be free agents after every single game. This changes absolutely nothing. That was merely a formality.
I do think the one thing that because I read the article, because I was, at first you read the headline and you're like, oh my God, this is earth-shattering news. Then you read the actual article and it's not. Players still have to sign NIL agreements. Players still have to sign scholarship agreements. So it's not earth-shattering news, but I do think this is the first step, in my opinion, of contracts for college athletes. I think that's where we're heading. Go ahead, Cameron.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
What I was going to say was exactly what you were starting to hit on with the contracts. I think that is the biggest thing that this now, opens the door for, is since there's no longer letters of intent, you're likely going to have people who are signing contracts that are going to be, in effect of or caused by the revenue sharing agreement, the House revenue sharing agreement. So I mean, it's on one hand, like you said, it's not that much different because they're still signing a financial aid agreement. And so it's still very similar in that regard. But there's also, the contract piece of it. And I said this before we started recording, but like I wish we had a compliance person on here to talk about this, because I'm sure that this was on their radar. It may not have been on other people's radars, but I'm sure they've been preparing for it. But this just completely changes everything. I think another thing that it changes is, like, what about the recruiting calendar now? Like, how does that affect the recruiting calendar? And then I also saw in the ESPN article, like, they're pushing for a June signing day. So I don't know. I think the NCAA saw where it was going, and they're trying to get ahead of it. I still think that there are some things to iron out before they are through the mess that's going on.
Every few years, college football gets rocked by some kind of major thing. Conference realignment, NIL, there's always something going on. And it always takes a couple years, and then they find the rhythm. The CFP with 12 teams this year might not be what everybody thinks it's going to be. You might have 5 really good teams and a bunch of trash teams. It's going to take a couple years to work itself out. But the NCAA, when they make these kind of decisions, it's not 1 or 2 people sitting in a room saying, "Oh, I think this is a good idea." It's years of research and data, is compliance people, coaches, athletes. It's people from all walks of the NCAA saying, "This is why we should or shouldn't do this." And I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. I think it'll prove to be a good thing, the same way NIL has.
I think the only thing that I want to see from it is that I do think the contracts that we touched on are big. I think that you should, at least for football, take away the red shirt year and just give everybody 5 years. Because I think right now one of my biggest frustrations, and I don't blame the players one bit, are the players that are already announcing on Twitter that they are sitting out and entering the transfer portal, and it's week 5 of the college football season. Take that red shirt rule away of the 4 games, and then you can keep your red shirt. Just give everybody 5 years. I mean, Alan Bowman started college in 2003. So, I mean, who cares at this point if somebody stays in college for 5 years? Case Keenum is still the quarterback at Houston. I mean, it doesn't matter. So take that away and make these kids sign contracts to where they have to play 12 games unless they're hurt, because that's what I want to see. I want to see the player that commits to Mississippi State or commits to whoever play for that season. And then if you want to hop in the portal and get a better deal, go ahead and do that, because there's no regulation on that. But that's the one thing that bugs me right now.
How do we feel about making the players employees? Because that's basically what it is. Now they have a contract. Now they have a contract. No, Zach? It gets rid of all of them.
I feel like they already are.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But you're in this space of lawlessness that there's rules, but nobody follows them. So it's, if there was a employee contract, take the UNLV quarterback, for instance. If in that contract it says you're getting compensated X, Y, Z if you stay this amount of time, there's no way that can be looked at wrong. And then it can also be litigated. It's this whole thing of, let's just make it something that they're actually employees. I don't remember which school it was in the Ivy League that the players unionized. Yeah. I don't know whatever happened with that, but I kind of like it.
Here's my one thing about that. I agree with you, Landon. You clip this for all of our friends that still work in college athletics. I agree to make them employees if they're going to pay the football players the same amount that they're paying the game ops people, the marketing assistants, the SIDs, and all of that. Because I think it's a very unfair, broken system when you have somebody who's working 80 hours a week to do something for the team that they're making less than $50,000 a year trying to live today. And you have players that are more valuable. The players are more valuable than the full-time employees. I get that. But you have quarterbacks driving Lamborghinis, and you have somebody, having to work 2 jobs that's also an assistant AD just to pay rent. So I'm all for that, but we gotta find a way to cap these salaries a little bit for these players.
Here's one thing that I just thought of. When I was in school getting my sports management degree, one of the things that we talked about was like, what if this situation actually happens? And now 6, 7 years later, it is happening. And one of the things that we used to talk about was like, okay, if they're going to be considered employees, well, then shouldn't, because of Title IX, shouldn't the football players be making the exact same as the women's swim and divers?
Cam, on that,
Because
I'm not.
sorry,
Yeah,
Landon,
yeah,
hold
yeah.
on. Because currently with the NIL, it's all personal. It's all personalized, and so that the Title IX stuff doesn't apply because it's your name, image, and likeness. But now, if you're signing a contract and everyone is an employee of the same university, is everyone going to get paid equally? I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm going to let you talk, Landon, but I just want to piggyback off of Cameron here. I have a friend that worked at a Power 4 institution. I'm just going to leave the institution out of it and his name out of it. He was working in the fundraising department, and he said their NIL budget was about $12 million. And he said about 6 to 9 million was for football, and then the rest was allocated amongst the other sports. So clearly, there's there's discrepancies there on the way the money's being spread around.
I think what we're seeing for the first time in college football is the power has shifted to the players. We have always seen coaches be able to opt out of contracts. Schools can opt out of bowl games if they want to. The players finally have the power. For years, people that follow the Big 12 might know some of this, but for years, Oklahoma would not release guys from their from their NLI to transfer out. They wouldn't let guys transfer out, but then they would turn around and ask people to let guys transfer into Oklahoma. So the players have the power, but what it's going to do, this is what NIL was always going to do. I think this is just the next step. But what you're going to see is some of the beauty of college football is the upsets that we talked about, the Vanderbilt over Alabama game. You're not going to be able to see that because the Texases of the world, the USCs, the Ohio States, they're going to go put together 20, 25, $30 million college football rosters. And the schools that are not just on that level financially aren't going to be able to compete. You're never, ever, ever going to see an Army or a Boise State go win a national championship in that world. You're just not.
But I think it does open up the opportunity for some schools that maybe they're not as good, but they do have a strong financial backing, like an SMU or
Yeah, but those are going to be few and far between, I think.
right. But I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I think it does open up. A lot of people thought when the transfer portal started, a few years ago, I think it was maybe 18 or 19 when the transfer portal officially opened. A lot of people thought that when the portal opened that, it's just, all the great players are just going to go to Texas and Ohio State. And that didn't happen, actually. A lot of good players end up at smaller schools that are just trying to get more playing time. And,
Sure.
I don't think
It's ironic that you say that as Texas and Ohio State are number 1 and 2 in the country, though.
That's okay, fair. But I think we expected it to be way more extreme, and it really hasn't. I think we've seen a lot of good talent from schools like that
There
actually
is.
leave.
The parity is what makes college football great. I think this is going to minimize the parity.
All right, Landon's had his hand up because we keep cutting him off. Landon, please get your points across. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I think at this point the NCAA is not the governing body of this anymore. They've been sued into oblivion. They can't do anything now because they've basically been said that they're a monopoly by the government. They've had the Alston issues. They've now have revenue sharing coming up, which I won't even get into that. That's a whole nother podcast.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah, so I think what we have to have is the federal government come in, and this is interstate commerce at this point. And you're going to get into a lot of different stuff that's just really jacked up. Think about how many taxes players in the NFL file in every single state that they play. They're paid on a per game basis. It's going to get really weird in the next 5 to 10 years with all this. But the federal government is the one that's going to have to do it. And I think they're too scared to do it.
This has been suggested for a long time, but college football needs a commissioner. And I tell you
Oliver Luck.
I tell you who'd be great at it. Oliver Luck is actually not a bad pick. Give me Nick Saban, college football commissioner.
I don't.
My vote is for my vote.
He'd be great at it.
My vote is for Josh Pate, college football show. I listen to that. I listen to that podcast every single week. So if he hears this, he's got my vote for commissioner. Nick Saban would be second if Josh Pate decides not to run.
Jim Tressel, another guy that I think could be really good at it.
Pat McAfee.
You know who would probably run it into the ground? Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer runs everything into the ground like he's a Georgia football player. Come on, dude.
You know, speaking of Georgia football and bad things there, the state plays them this week. I got to throw a little trash talk out. 7 players so far this year arrested for Georgia. So
I saw their 7th player.
And you know what? It somehow feels like way more. It feels like they've had 20 players arrested.
I feel like I saw that they had their 7th player of this season arrested, and I wonder, do they just flip a coin or something to determine if they're going to actually suspend somebody?
I think they draw straws is what they do, because somehow they get arrested on Monday and then they can play on Saturday.
It doesn't feel like 7. It feels like 25 or 30 by now.
I had to throw
Hunter,
Georgia
if
under
they
the bus.
have enough guys get suspended, Mississippi State might have a chance.
Well, I'm thinking, you know, in the interest of fairness, because it's honestly not really fair that Georgia keeps getting away with this. I think they should be forced to forfeit a game. And so I think that there's no better time to forfeit a game than now. And so why not just go ahead and do the right thing, Georgia, and forfeit your next game? It just happens to be Mississippi State. Just lucky us. Forfeit that game, and let's just move on, and let's just clean up the arrest a little bit, huh? Like 1 or 2 a season.
Yeah, you think this is not a common occurrence with every football school in America? They're all getting arrested. It's a football.
Hey, they do things different down in all. I can't even say it with a straight face.
Everybody has the goggles, right? It's like, oh, not my team. My team has players that are always, you know, they're outstanding young men. Like, no, it's every team.
My team apparently, like,
here's the thing. I don't know how it's not happening at Texas, because they're buying 19-year-old kids Lamborghinis right and left.
I was betting on stuff, I guess. I don't know.
So, I don't know. Weird times in the NCAA. Do we want to do locks of the week right now on the potty? I want to go.
Everybody could just say theirs, and we'll just
sure.
All right, hold on. I did a soundbite for this, so Landon, put the soundbite in right now.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
All right, this is our locks of the week. Locks of the week are brought to you by. We still don't have any sponsors. Sponsors, if you're listening. Oh, Quinn. That's right. Sorry. Locks of the week are brought to you by Quinn92. Quinn, we appreciate you. You make great music. Is that it, Cameron? Is that all he does?
Sir Jimmy.
Yeah, that's it.
Who the fuck is Quinn?
Go check out the Lunch EP. So I didn't say this earlier. He's releasing new music this year, but he's doing it in a pretty cool way. He's not just releasing one album. He's got a food theme for his music that he's releasing this year, and he's releasing 3 extended plays. One is Breakfast, which released earlier this year. One is Lunch, which just released, and then he'll release a dinner one at the end of the year, I believe. So
I think it's
fitting. Interesting concept.
I think it's fitting that you got to be a part of Lunch.
Cam, if it's egg and dairy
to the
free,
bean.
I'm in. If it's
we locking this thing?
Free.
Let's lock this thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's lock it up. Who wants to? TJ Hoosmazoos, lock it up. All right, Cameron's going first. Go.
Come on,
I'll go first. I know we're just doing it quick here, but I do have to give a little bit of an explanation. My lock here is JMU. I think they're at -9.5 right now, over Coastal Carolina. coming off of a loss, I think they're going to come out a little more determined, a little more focused. And aside from that, a couple weeks ago, we're playing Ball State. I texted in the group chat, we're up by like 30 in the first half. And I texted in the group chat that I was also coming off of the big UNC win the week before. I basically told the group chat, like, I'm taking JMU to cover in every single game the rest of the season. So I'm sticking to my word with that. But I also do believe that JMU has a good shot to cover in this game. Number one, we own Coastal Carolina since we've joined the Sun Belt. And then also it's a Thursday night, big game, sold out. And it'll be rocking, man. And every single JMU night game that I've gone to at home has been just crazy games. My freshman year, we beat Sam Houston State 65-7. And then we also beat South Dakota State, turned them over 10 times, kicked a game-winning field goal against Weber State. A lot of great night games at JMU, so I think they have a good chance to bounce back.
Zach, give me a lock of the week.
I got Louisiana minus 10.5 against App State.
App State's playing really bad football right now.
Yes, they are.
Landon, give me a lock of the week.
LSU at home versus Ole Miss, Death Valley at night.
Yes.
Ooh,
It's going to happen.
Yes.
I love that. That's a great one,
They're
man.
plus 3.5 currently.
That's really good. It's really good. I thought about that.
I love that pick.
Love that.
I actually did research. Are you all proud of me?
Yeah.
Eat it, Kyle. Boom.
Sorry, guys.
Jordan, give me a pick.
It might come back to bite me, but I'm rolling with Vanderbilt. They're plus 13.5 against Kentucky. Vanderbilt's riding high. They played Mizzou within a field goal. They beat Alabama. I'm rolling with the Commodores.
You're making Vandy your lock and not your super dog?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that.
Wow. Okay. Jordan
Also
is.
'cause I couldn't remember what my actual lock was that I sent you earlier.
Jordan sends me a lock on he sends me all his picks on Monday morning, and then Thursday when I ask everybody for their final picks, Jordan changes all 4 of his picks.
And then
every single
Saturday
week.
morning we have another final edition of picks.
Oh my God, we're gonna iron that out later. We don't have time this week.
Give me Vanderbilt to cover.
Okay, I like it. I'll round us out for locks of the week. Give me back to my start of the podcast. I shouted out the soccer team. Give me the Mean Green football team of North Texas going on the road at Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic is putrid. They are not a good football team. And North Texas is scoring a lot of points. They are getting 6.5. Well, they're not getting 6.5. They are 6.5 point favorites on the road. Give me the Mean Green and Chandler Morris, the TCU transfer, slinging it around the yard. So North Texas minus 6.5 at Florida Atlantic. Yep.
I would love to see Florida Atlantic and Mississippi State play against each other.
I think the game you're going to want to look forward to is in November. It's already on the schedule. Mississippi State versus ass.
Give me the ass by a touchdown.
Yeah, dude, that is going to be the dumpster fire game of the century right there. And hey, listen,
It doesn't even matter whose ass it is. I'll take that over Mississippi State.
look, I love my dogs. I'm riding with them no matter what, but that game is going to be gross, and I'm watching every second of it. So that was Locks of the Week presented by Quinn92. Thanks, Quinn. You haven't given us any money yet. You don't have to. Listen to Sober Up. Cameron's in the music video. But now it's time to play some trivia. Who is ready for some trivia?
Piece of paper, so let's go.
Perfect.
Zach, give me this pen and paper here.
Little backstory. When we all lived in Abilene, we went to bar trivia because I was like, we can definitely win at bar trivia with the minds that we have on this group. And we went, and the host was absolutely terrible, and we'll just leave it at that. And I made the comment. I hope he listens, even though I don't even remember his name.
Johnny Tsunami.
I thought it was Jack Galifianakis. Was that not right? No. What was it, Herod?
I don't know his name. Can we just play trivia?
I think his name was Zach, and we called him Zach Galifianakis.
Is that what it was? I couldn't remember.
He looked like Johnny Tsunami.
No.
Anyway, let's play trivia.
But I made the comment of, I bet we could do our own trivia and it would be better than this, and it was. And I wrote the trivia question, so I picked up the skill of writing good trivia questions. So that's what we're doing tonight. This is our 6-pack trivia challenge. Thank you.
Appalachian State would like a word.
Application State would like a word. The good news is there's no PowerPoint, so you can't see my spelling errors. But this is a 6-pack trivia challenge. Okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask the question, give the guys a couple of seconds, and then you guys listen in a couple of seconds to kind of answer on your own. And then we will pass it around. I will keep a score, and the loser, whoever comes in last, has to host the 6-pack trivia challenge next week. So Landon right now, Landon is the betting favorite to host because Landon is notorious not good at trivia. Does everybody have a pen and paper or something to prove your answers?
I hope y'all know Big Bang.
Okay, here we go. Random topics, here we go. 6-pack trivia challenge starts right now. First topic is movies. Are y'all ready? What 1996 comedy thriller film was directed by Ben Stiller and starred Jim Carrey and Matthew Broderick? This is before Cameron is born, so I'm really interested to see Cameron's answer.
So many good Jim Carrey movies from the 90s to choose from.
This is a good movie if you've never seen it.
Yeah, this is good. I think I got this one.
I did not.
Here, let me get a pen ready to keep score.
I've seen a lot of Jim Carrey.
Alrighty then.
Is everybody ready? Is everybody ready? Okay, so I'm going
to... My problem is I don't know who Matthew Broderick is. If I knew who he was, I'd probably
He's Ferris Bueller.
He's Ferris Bueller.
Oh, sorry. Look here.
Anyone?
Here's the thing. I am terrible with actors and actresses. It's not like I haven't seen things. I'm just terrible at knowing their names.
Hey, so Cam, I'm sorry.
9/11.
Yeah, Cam, I'm sorry I didn't ask a question about Paw Patrol. I'm sorry. Okay, so Landon, you're first on my screen. Landon, what is your answer?
Lion King.
That is incorrect. Zach, you're next on my screen.
It is the Cable Guy.
That is the correct answer. It is the Cable Guy. Jordan, did you have it?
The Cable Guy.
There you go. Jordan's on the board. Cameron, did you have it?
No, I said Ace Ventura.
That is
great
also,
movie.
It's a better guess than Lion King.
All right.
Sandbagging.
Right. Next topic is cereal.
Hell yeah.
I love it. Let's go.
What is the name of the Golden Crisp Bear mascot?
Easy money, baby.
He has a name.
Remember who drafted Golden Crisp?
Yeah, oh, you did. I thought you drafted Golden Grams. Shit. That's bad. That's bad trivia writing on me.
Sure is.
I got nothing on this one.
I'm ready to show you the answer.
Rusty, could you shut up?
I have an answer written down though.
I kind of hope that Jordan's actually wrong and we have an argument about this. Is everybody ready?
Hold on. Let Jordan go last because obviously he has it.
Okay. All right, Landon. Oh, go, Landon. I'm going off. I'm sorry, Cam. I'm going off my screen. I have Landon first. I'm trying to stay in order.
Screw you, Cam.
Goldie.
Incorrect.
Good guess.
I had a similar guess. Go ahead,
Zach.
Cam. Hunter, tell us who's next. Good grief. All right.
Zach.
No, it's me now. I put Crisp E.
A great guess. Crisp.
That's a great guess. That's better than the name. And no, it's wrong. Zach.
I wrote Goldilocks.
I love this game so much.
Also wrong. Jordan, what's the answer?
The answer is Sugar Bear. If I can get my thing to
Yep. It is Sugar Bear.
Sugar Bear.
That's a stupid name.
Yeah, it is. Delicious cereal, though. Second round.
Sugar Bear. There you go. Crispy. That was great.
That was really good.
That was really good.
I got one of these 6, so I don't care if I miss the next 5.
Hey, I like that we're to the point in the show where Cameron's mad that Hunter just skipped over him after you guys had 2 full rants before I even got introduced on this episode.
Herod, it wouldn't be trivia without Cam being mad at Hunter.
Yeah, that's true.
James K. Polk, Cameron.
Hey, can you flip a chair real quick, Cam?
Yep. my gosh. College football. College football is our next topic for question number 3. Of the current Big 12 members, what 2 teams are tied for the most football championship game appearances? They didn't have to win. They just have to appear in the game. Of the current Big 12 members, what 2 teams are tied for the most championship game appearances?
I need clarification.
I have a question after.
Do you get 1
National
point for
championship?
each, or does it you have to get 2?
I will allow 1 point for each. We're looking for points here.
National championship game or
No,
Big
Big 12 title game only. Big 12 championship game appearances. Yeah.
That's actually a really good question.
Yep. It's not the best question of the 6, at least in my opinion. Current Big 12. So no Texas, no Oklahoma. If you write it, you're a dumbass.
Also, if you write Colorado, you're a dumbass, or BYU, or Houston.
Hey, Colorado was there before, dingus.
And Colorado's back in it. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm young.
It might actually be Colorado.
You guys are old heads. Yeah, it could be Colorado.
Could it be Baylor? Emily's not here. Emily's not here for that. I'm sorry. All right. Does everybody have 2 answers? Okay.
I'm looking at the team so I don't forget.
This is my favorite question of the night so far, Hunter.
This one I might actually have a chance on.
There you go.
All right, I have 2 things written down. So
Okay. Cameron, you can go first this time.
I literally just said, hold on.
This podcast is awesome.
Here, I'll go. Baylor
Go,
and
Landon.
Kansas State.
What'd you say, Landon?
Baylor and Kansas State.
I'm still writing, so don't tell him if it's
That's who I started with, Landon. And then I crossed out Baylor. So I have K-State and Oklahoma State.
Oh, I love how this is
Okay.
unfolding
Okay.
right now.
Jordan?
I have Oklahoma State and Colorado.
Ooh. I tried to Google it. It didn't work.
I have Colorado and Texas Tech.
Texas Tech's never appeared in a conference championship game.
Texas Tech.
That's brutal,
Ever.
Landon.
So
Sorry, buddy.
Not in the Big
There's a
12.
reason I didn't choose them.
The correct answer is Kansas State and Colorado.
Colorado, we're on the
both-
board.
I got
Both-
one.
Both tied with 4 appearances.
Wow.
Take it. I
Yep.
got one.
Both tied with 4 appearances.
Nobody got both
so-
of those, right?
Ooh. Oh my God, my mic fell.
Okay. Who's Mike?
Finally.
Podcast is awesome.
God. This podcast is going off the rails right now.
Yeah,
I mean, we are at an hour and 20 minutes. So
This really is Press Box After Dark because everybody
Yeah.
is just delirious and delirious.
All right, so we're halfway
Texas
through.
Tech.
Texas Tech and the
I love that you prefaced it with "it definitely can't be Colorado," which was the right answer, and you wrote down Texas Tech. That's fantastic.
I also wrote Colorado.
yeah.
You know what we call
did.
them down in Austin? We call them Little Brother Lubbock.
It's BYU. There, that's the right answer.
as my
All right.
dad likes to say, I'll tell you one thing. Tech sucks.
They're not a good football
Get
team.
your
Highly
mic
overrated.
set up so we can keep.
I can't.
lines.
I got to
Give us
figure this
another
out. All right, so
question.
I'm gonna ask the next
Goodness gracious.
question, and then I'm gonna fix my mic while y'all are doing this.
Could you
Hunter's
mute
gonna
yourself
call
while you
in.
fix your mic, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank
Hunter's
you.
our next caller.
Okay, this is the easiest question of the night. I want to make sure everybody got one.
God, now I'm gonna get it wrong.
Major League Baseball, who currently holds the longest playoff drought of just appearing in the playoffs? Just appearing in the playoffs. Who holds the longest drought?
That's not as easy
Hunter,
as you
how
think,
the
bud.
fuck do you think that's the easiest question of the night?
Yeah, Landon picked the Rockies to make the playoffs.
Hey, they were close.
Could it be Baylor?
It could not.
I have.
Oh,
I
man,
have
this
a
is
thought
really
here.
good.
I have 2 thoughts on this, and I'm not sure which one.
Landon, the Tigers made the playoffs, just so you know.
I
Yeah,
think I know the
They look
answer,
good.
but I'll be surprised if this is wrong. But there are actually some pretty good candidates.
Yeah, I have 2 thoughts here that came to mind right away.
Watching Hunter play with cords and microphones is a fascinating thing. This is why we need a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
My theory on this is Hunter doesn't watch much Major League Baseball, and so he probably thinks that this is an easy answer, but it's really not.
Yeah,
and
there's-
because
there's
he thinks,
several candidates.
have you guys wrote something down yet? Are you guys
Yeah, I
locked
got
in?
an answer. I got an answer.
Okay.
I immediately.
Okay, since you
I've
guys
seen-
are ready, I'm gonna say I think he thinks that it's easy because it's the White Sox, but it's not that easy.
It's also not the White Sox.
No, they were just in the playoffs a couple years ago.
Tony La Russa got them there. Is that who you wrote?
All
down?
right. The
No,
mic is fixed.
I wrote down someone different, but that's what I.
It does seem
I
like
think-
it should be the White Sox.
Yeah,
because they're
like,
so
that's-
historically bad.
My mind immediately went American League, though.
Mine did go to the White Sox. I had to think about it for a minute.
All right, Cameron, go ahead and answer.
I said the A's because but I know that they've made it like in like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't know any other
Even
teams.
a decade ago, they were in it. Yeah.
Who's next, Hunter? This is your show, after all.
Jordan.
I believe the correct answer is the Fighting Mike Trouts, the Anaheim Angels.
That's where my head went, Jordan. That's exactly where my head went. I put the Angels. That was
Landon?
don't
I
know
said
what that is.
Seattle.
Seattle was in the playoffs 2 years ago.
The correct answer
They all went
is
to the same division.
the Los
the bad
Angeles
division.
Angels of Anaheim.
That's
The
what-
Angels.
yeah. The
They are
geographically
currently
challenged.
Does anybody have the years? How many years it's been since they've been in the playoffs?
Hold on. They made the
10?
playoffs 1 year because they had the best record in the AL, and then they got swept in
12.
the division series.
12.
I think it was 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't guess the Angels because I thought it was
No,
gonna be
you know what?
something
I'm going to say
longer than
13.
that.
I'm going to say 13.
So 13, so yeah, 10, 12 years
It's
ago.
10. It's 10. It's currently at 10.
And it ain't getting better. It's going to extend next year. Hey,
All right.
serious side note. Imagine having Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani for 6 years and not winning a single
Seriously.
playoff game.
Baffling.
Also, hold on, Hunter. Before you go to the next question, that was not the easiest question.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know why you thought all of us were gonna get it.
I don't
Name
know. I
two
thought
random Big
it
12
was.
teams was much easier.
Okay, my bad. Sorry. Bad on me.
Can we get a
This
score?
this is my favorite question of the night. Question number 5. Restaurants, sit down restaurants. You ready?
Oh, no, I'm not.
What does Texas Roadhouse call their version of their jalapeno popper appetizer?
Hell yeah.
If you need a description, I have the menu description right here. You ready? I'm just
Also,
going to read.
this-
I'm reading this for the context.
This depends on which Texas Roadhouse you go to because some of them make them really well and some of them don't cook them.
Okay,
Oh,
so
I can
this is
picture 'em.
this is what the menu says: diced jalapenos and jack cheese, lightly fried and served with a Cajun dipping sauce.
They're incredible if they're made right.
If
What
they're made right.
what does Texas Roadhouse call their version of jalapeno poppers?
Yeah.
I have the correct answer when you're ready.
What is
Okay.
that?
All right, so I'm going to let Jordan go last.
I have the second correct answer.
Yeah, the two guys that live in Texas might have the right answer.
Probably.
I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole of Texas Roadhouse today, but I was like, I have to do a restaurant question because we talk about bread all the time, and I
Well,
ended up at
Zach-
Texas Roadhouse menu.
While Zach is finishing his answer, I saw a
got it.
video. I saw a video on Twitter the other day, and it was this dude had never eaten Texas Roadhouse rolls, and he was like, "I don't get it. Like it's just bread." And then he had it with the cinnamon butter and was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
Yeah, it's the cinnamon butter. Yeah, come on.
One day we'll
All right.
talk about bread on here.
God, bread.
Who's going first?
Zach, go ahead.
I couldn't think of a name. I think I called it like fried rattler. I don't know if that was
So close.
That's
but no
close.
cigar.
That's really close. Cameron.
Rattlesnake bites.
Yes, sir.
rattlesnake. Oh, like dang it! I was in. the
Dang,
right
that
area.
was so close.
I couldn't think
That
of
could
it.
cost you the game, Zach.
Oh, that's fine.
Good news is you're not in danger of hosting because Landon's also participating.
That's
And
true.
because Cameron
Right,
thinks
so-
Texas Tech played for a
Dang
football.
it.
right.
I was
We-
close. I was in the ballpark.
Listen,
We have
for
one
somebody
question.
from not Texas, that was actually a really good
That was
answer.
good.
I'm
That
proud of
was.
Thank
We
you.
we have one question left. Jordan, you are currently winning.
Ooh, where am I?
Jordan has 5
I think I have 3.
of a possible 6 because we had the 2 points for the football. Zach has 3, and then Cameron and Landon are currently tied for last with 2.
So this one doesn't matter for me and Zach, and it means everything to Landon and Cam.
Yep. But then we
Cameron,
could
don't worry.
possibly have a 3-way tie for third or for last
Yeah.
if Zach gets it
I
wrong
need
and
to get
Cameron
this
lands it
right.
wrong.
Listen, if the three of them have to co-host, I really like our chances, Hunter.
I like it. I really like our chances.
That's too much work. We'll just
Final
make it
question of the
easier.
6-pack trivia challenge:
Yeah.
sports video games. Sports video games. Are we ready?
No.
Who was on the cover of NFL Street 3 that released for the PlayStation 2 in 2006?
I think I know this.
Tony Romo.
Who was on the cover of NFL Street 3 that released for the PlayStation 2 in 2006?
Landon, I'm going to give you one hint. For
I
NFL
vaguely
Street, they don't
remember
put
this.
white dudes on the cover.
That's
So
fair.
when you said Tony Romo, it's not going to be him.
I'm going to blow Jordan's mind in a second.
Patrick Mahomes.
Does everybody have an answer?
I do.
I do.
I do have one.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in order of who's in first because I want to build the drama between Landon and Cameron. Jordan, what is the answer?
Michael Vick of
Okay.
dogfighting fame.
Michael Vick. Zach.
I wrote Ocho Cinco.
Okay. Cameron.
Same thing. Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco.
Love it.
And Landon.
I do not have a guess.
Landon is dying to host trivia
Just
next time.
back against the wall for Landon, doesn't even put anything down.
He just does no answer.
Landon needs a Hail Mary and he goes back and he just takes a knee. He's
That's like when
had to answer this.
that's like when Jameis Winston took a sack for a 10-yard gain against the Rams.
Yeah,
No, it's like when Dan Orlovsky ran out of the back of the end zone.
Hey, sometimes
Jimmy
that
G
happens.
did that too.
the correct answer is Chad Ocho Cinco. Chad
Oh,
Johnson.
cool.
He is
I
on the
remember the I think I remember the cover.
Yeah,
Good
I
cover.
remembered that he was on one of the covers. I just didn't know if that was the one. So
Very good
That
pull,
was my
guys.
second guess.
And
that
then
was a good year for
and
Vic.
Landon, that was my second guess. That's a hilarious.
That was my second
That was my
Um,
second guess behind nothing.
And then Jordan, just to prove your fact wrong, they do put white guys on the cover of NFL Street. Jeremy Shockey was on the cover of NFL Street
Well,
too.
He went to the U.
That
It's-
makes sense.
Michael Jackson.
It's Jeremy Shockey and Exhibit, the rapper, is on the cover of NFL Street too. So just throwing that out there. I just wasted a great trivia question too. So congratulations, Landon. You are the worst, and you will be hosting our 6-pack trivia challenge. We don't have to do it every week, but I just thought it'd be a good segment that we could, throw it to every now and then. We're already over an hour and 30 minutes. Jordan, do you still want to do 3 up, 3 down, or you want to pass this week?
Do it.
I'll do it, and I'll just try to do a sprint through it. I was going
All
to
right.
leave this open for a little bit of discussion, but for time's sake, let's fly through it. Does that work?
That works. The floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever edition of 3 Up, 3 Down on the podcast of Press Box After Dark, presented by Jordan, Mr. 3 Up, 3 Down. The floor is yours.
Well, my first up absolutely has to be Tarek Skubal from the Tigers. He won the AL Triple Crown, the most innings he's ever thrown going into the playoffs. His manager said, our pitching plan is Skubal and chaos after that. And so far, it's absolutely been working. Cameron, why are you giving me that look?
You mentioned that Skubal won the Triple Crown. Is this the first year ever that
That
a
both
pitcher
leagues have
won the
it?
Triple Crown in
Yeah,
both
I think
leagues
it is. I think it is.
with him and Sale?
Yeah, but it's working in Detroit. He has yet to give up a run. This is his first postseason. He's had 2 starts. He's gone 13 innings. He's got a .61 walks and hits per inning pitch. That's unheard of. Guys get defined by how they play in the playoffs, and he is absolute nails. I'm curious how he pitches if they make it to a long series, but I am absolutely rooting for Tarek Skubal. Number 2, the Kansas City freaking Royals, man. They held the Orioles to 1 total run in 2 games, both in Baltimore, by the way. They stole one against the Yankees to make it 1-1 heading back to Kansas City. They rattled the Yankees to the point where Jazz Chisholm said that the Royals got lucky. I think the Royals have a lot of things going on. They were 45-36 at home this year. They're going to be a tough out. Also, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto coming into game 3 were 4 for 15 with 8 strikeouts. 0 runs batted in between the two of them. If you're getting out Soto and Judge, you got a really, really good chance. Bobby Witt Jr. went 0 for 5 in game 2, and the Royals still found a way to win. That's how good that team is right now. Last up, I got, Zach, you'll love this, Terry Francona. The Cincinnati Reds scooping in on Terry Francona. This guy is a proven winner. They've got a young team. He's a 3-time manager of the year. He's won almost 2,000 games as a manager. That's something only 12 other people have ever done. Most of them are not even in this century or the last century. The Reds, man, you look at that core: Ellie De La Cruz, Noel V. Marte, Will Benson, Spencer Steer. They are primed for success. They need somebody to come in and take the reins and get this thing on track. The bar in Cincinnati is incredibly low. Their last division title was 2012. Their last playoff series win was 1995. Terry Francona has 5 division titles and 44 total playoff wins.
It reminds me of Joe Madden to the Cubs in 2015. It really does, Jordan.
This is a guy that has made the playoffs 7 times in 11 years in Cleveland. If you're a Reds fan right now, you absolutely have to be super, super excited about the future. All right, I'm going to get to the downs, and some of these are fun. The Orioles, you have to start with the Orioles. The longest postseason losing streak in the league. It's now at 10 games. Their last postseason win came in 2014 when they then got swept by the Royals in the division series. The farm system that they produced, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holliday, Colton Cowser, they had the quietest 40-plus home run season ever this year, Anthony Santander. And then they traded for Corbin Burns in the offseason, a Cy Young winner, all to get the exact same result they got last year. They won a bunch of games. They went 2-out in the playoffs. And now they're trying to figure out how the heck do we get this thing right next year. Spoiler alert, they won't.
Hey, you missed a Mississippi State guy, Jordan Westberg, as well. So
hey,
yeah.
Camden Yards is cool though.
Camden Yards is great. That ballpark deserves a deep playoff run.
Great food at Camden. The Astros are my second down this week. They got bounced from the playoffs by a guy that used to manage their team, and they got bounced because they played 2 games and they never threw their best pitcher. The Astros didn't lose a game in Yusei Kikuchi's 10 starts this year. He went 5-1 with a 270. The Astros never even bothered to put him on the mound in the playoffs. Their offense scored 3 runs, both at home. That's a problem that's gone back a couple of seasons for them. Their bullpen of death was not that good. When it mattered, Ryan Presley and Josh Hader combined for 5 hits, 3 walks, and 4 runs over the final 2 innings of their elimination game. Now they've got free agency coming up. Alex Bregman has already tweeted, "Thank you, Houston." Seems like he could be gone. There's a lot of questions to answer. They're not a team that spends big in free agency. Could be the end of the Astros window. Last and certainly not least, my man Mookie Betts. I love me some Mookie Betts. Who doesn't? 289, 19 home runs, 75 RBI in the regular season. He missed 46 games and still put up those numbers. Different story in the playoffs. 4 for 39 in his last 11 playoff games going in to game 4. That dates back for 3 seasons. Dude's got an MVP and he's got 3 second-place finishes. Stop going on the Hawk Tua podcast. Maybe walk Tua the batting cage, homie. You got to play better if the Dodgers are going to do things. That's all I got.
Landon, you've got to clip that.
Oh my God.
That was great.
You know, I had to keep the sarcasm in there.
An honorable mention down would be the Phillies bullpen. Go Mets.
Man, did they collapse tonight?
Philadelphia's bullpen was a mess. Their starting pitching was so good in that series. Good for the Mets. So it's good. That turnaround's insane.
Worst record in baseball, and then the grimace throws out the first pitch, and then boom, it's like shot out of a cannon.
Crazy.
That was 3 Up, 3 Down, the podcast version. Jordan does write an amazing blog every single week. He did take a break for the playoffs, but if you're not reading it, you really, really should, especially if you're trying to keep up with Major League Baseball, but you got a busy life. Every single Wednesday, PressBoxAfterDark.com, 3 Up, 3 Down. It is so, so good. His jokes are fantastic, especially if you follow baseball. They're even better. So really good stuff, Jordan. But let's wrap up this podcast that was definitely under an hour. Good job, guys. Really good stuff. With Hang a Banner, we'll pass it around. I really – Jordan's raising his hand.
What just happened?
I don't he did the sound bite again.
Drum?
That was Landon. But let's pass it around, do Hang the Banner. Cameron, you're eating pizza, so I'm assuming you're not going first. So, Zach, why don't you get us started on Hang the Banner?
Okay. I actually did a little looking into this one this time. I'm going to hang the banner for Eminem. I don't know if you guys saw this lately, but First of all, I looked it up. He's 51 years old. That makes me feel very old. So that's good. It was announced that he is going to be a grandpa for the first time, and he just overtook Taylor Swift's new album. And so his album is called The Death of Slim Shady, is his newest album, but it's now #1, finally taking over Taylor, who runs the planet right now. So
does he have to appear on Chiefs games now? Is that part of the deal?
Well, that's probably the rule. But he's from Detroit, and his Lions, I think the Lions are really, really good. So they got a big game in Dallas on Sunday. So that'll be good. But Eminem, I'm going to give a shout out to Slim, R.I.P. Slim, Eminem.
I am a little worried though. We put his age out here. I hope he doesn't make a diss track about us if he actually listens to this.
He's got plenty of material with this group.
Yeah, we would be over in a split second if he ever did that to us. So please do not do that, Mr. Slim Shady.
I would be flattered.
I'd be flattered. Jordan, you just talked for a while.
Hang the banner on us if Eminem did a diss track on us.
Okay, that's fair. Jordan, you want to go ahead and hang one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and hang one. I'm going to stick with baseball because we haven't talked baseball in a couple of weeks on here, and this is my last chance this season to take more shots at the Seattle Mariners. The Seattle Mariners somehow gave up the fewest runs in baseball and then proceeded to miss the playoffs, the newly expanded playoffs, I might add, by one whole game. Meaning that one game against the lowly Rangers or the lowly Angels or the A's, who put a $7 payroll on the field, could have changed their entire season. Or one game against the Kansas City Royals in June when the Mariners had an 8-0 lead and blew it. I am, you guys know I love to roast on the Mariners. I got a couple friends that are Mariners fans. They let me have it all the time. So this is me giving it back to them one more time. Hang the banner, Seattle. Your pitching staff, otherworldly, but you put them with a single A lineup, and you got what you deserve for it. Spend some money on the lineup next year, guys.
Cameron?
All right. Excuse me. I just finished my pizza, and I need to clear my throat.
Was it bread?
It was bread. Good bread. I don't know which kind, but whatever Costco makes their pizza with is very good. Let's see. Well, I lost my train of thought. Okay, I'm going to preface my hang the banner by saying that there were multiple instances of this happening this past weekend in college football. And for me, at least, this kind of came out of nowhere. But all of a sudden, we've got some crazy celebrations going on in college football. And all this, last week, I feel like out of nowhere, we just had some coordinated random things going on. You had was it the South Carolina guy that he sacked the quarterback and just looked like he pulled the Uzi out and started shooting him on the ground.
Yeah.
And then you had in the Minnesota game, the umpire goes, unsportsmanlike conduct for brandishing a weapon, which I have never seen before. PJ Fleck is completely confused on the sideline. But my hang the banner is for Davenport University. And I'm assuming that's Iowa, right? Zach?
There is a Davenport, Iowa.
D2. They were playing Grand Valley State, and I think I sent this to some of you guys, and hopefully you've seen it. Davenport was down by 17 to Grand Valley State with 2 minutes left in the game. Davenport corner breaks up a pass in the end zone, and he does the celebration that a lot of the corners are doing these days, where he takes the sword and he puts it back in his sheath or whatever, which, kind of signifying, I'm locking you up. But then he lifts his jersey up, acts like he's taking a pistol out, points it directly at the wide receiver, and acts as if he's taking a shot. Right in front of the official. The official clearly throws his flag. But you're doing that while down 17 points with 2 minutes left? It was so laughable. And, and just I feel like we haven't seen that before, and all of a sudden it happened 3 times the exact same weekend. I don't know where that came from. But hang the banner, Davenport University lost by 17 to a good team. Grand Valley State is one of the best D2 programs year in, year out. But you're gonna have a celebration like that while you're down like that? I don't know. That it's stupid. The celebrations like that need to stop.
I just Googled them. Grand Rapids, Michigan is where that school is.
Oh, interesting. So it's not in Iowa.
Nope.
There is a Davenport, Iowa, but there's not a. It's not that.
Shots fired from Cameron.
Literally. The South Carolina guy who did that also did his celebration while they were down like 20 points to Ole Miss too. So very odd time to be doing that celebration. I'll go next and I'll let Landon finish the Hang the Banner segment. I got a weird one. Hang a Banner, Spirit Halloween. You are expanding. I saw an article today that Spirit Halloween in select locations is going to open up Spirit Christmas and test out the waters of Spirit Christmas stores to sell I don't know what, because it's a Halloween store now going to sell, I guess, Christmas stuff, tacky sweaters, ornaments, random things. But the one thing that I'm upset about is that it's strictly in New Jersey and New York. And I, as a fan of Spirit Halloween, because everybody makes their trip to Spirit Halloween once a year to buy an outfit for Halloween, and then you never go back to Spirit Halloween because it disappears. I kind of want to see the Spirit Christmas experiment venture out to the rest of the country. So I hope that this is a success so we can have Spirit Christmas, Spirit Valentine's Day, Spirit Flag Day, Spirit 4th of July, Spirit all around. So congratulations, Spirit Halloween. Hang the banner. You are finally expanding to other holidays, coming to an abandoned Kmart near you. Spirit Christmas.
Is it just all Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas stuff? Like, that would be.
Probably, honestly. I don't know. I saw the article and I thought it was like AI generated fake news, and I did research, and apparently it is real. They are going to try it out and see if it is a functioning business model for the company that only exists for 1 month a year.
That's the spirit.
Landon finishes.
Hang the banner. Vanderbilt's field goal post. You were carried 2.5 miles down Broadway, broke through a police blockade, disturbed countless bachelorette trips, and ended up in the river.
So
Hang the
good.
banner.
What a great life for that goalpost.
This is great. Do you know they fished it out of the Cumberland River, and then they like chopped it up and used it as you could auction, and they auctioned it off the goalpost. So it's already been sold. If I was a fan of Vanderbilt, I would have given my life savings to get a piece of that goalpost.
They should do that every time they win a game now.
Every time they win a game. So
is their stadium finished?
No, it's not finished. Which that's what somebody made a joke. They were like, "Why are you tearing down the stadium? It's still not even finished yet, but yet you're tearing it down."
Do they still have the scoreboard that's like swinging in the wind?
No, they got rid of that, and I'm honestly mad about that. The 2 cranes last year just holding up a video board was absolutely incredible.
It's so Vanderbilt.
Just tape and glue.
It was phenomenal.
I love
This
it.
is for a different episode, but at some point we need to get into the dumbest tradition in college sports.
No, I agree.
Removing the goalpost. And the second dumbest tradition, fining the school for removing the goalpost.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
They already have to buy a new goalpost. Leave them alone with your fines. It's dumb.
That's dumb. But that will wrap us up for Press Box After Dark, episode 5. We did finally hit over 100 listeners, so either that means that we have listened to this podcast multiple times ourselves, or we're actually gaining somewhat of a following. So thank you to everybody who has listened. You can catch this podcast on Spotify and Apple Music. If you do listen to us, please follow us. Please subscribe. Please give us a 5-star review to help us grow. It means a lot to us. You can catch us on Twitter at PressBoxAD. That also has a link in our bio to our website, pressboxafterdark.com. You can check out everything we do there. We are on Instagram at pressboxafterdark, and check out our clips of the podcast and clips of all college football plays that I can find that I find entertaining on Saturdays. I put those on TikTok. We've got over 1,000 likes there, so we're growing on TikTok, and that is at PressBoxAD. Does anybody else have anything they want to add here for the end of episode 5?
I would like to add that it is 10:39 Central Time, and OU still sucks. Hook 'em.
Suck it, Hunter.
It's a great way to end it. Y'all have a good week. Enjoy your college football Saturday. Never mind, Cameron cut us off.
Sorry.
What a way to end it. End it. Just end it.
No, I mean, we came into this thing saying that we needed to be under like an hour or an hour 15, and this might be the longest one we've done. So I am going to
we recorded 3 episodes tonight.
And say, shout out to West Virginia this weekend. We didn't talk about that at all. They're doing a Coal Rush game for the very first time ever. Black uniforms.
It's time for the Sonic drive of the game. And perhaps as far as I'm concerned, the drive of the game may be my drive home from Starkville to Tupelo.
You can't fire me! I got a contract! I'm Rance Wilder!
And it's a little bit of a storyline here. 2018, we were undefeated. We go to Iowa State. They have a blackout game and beat us when we're number 6 in the country. And now we're coming back. We're doing a blackout. Iowa State's coming to Morgantown. They're, I think, 11th. So kind of the reverse scenario going on here. So
worst ending ever.
Worst ending ever.
We're throwing out cool things at the end, and
Hunter
just decides to wrap it up.
Landon, you cut Cam off like halfway through that, right? It just cuts to.
It's instead of a cold open, it's a cold ending, and Cameron's like midway through. He's like, "Yeah, West Virginia's playing," and then it just ends.
Can Cameron's answer just fade into the outro?
Fade to black.
Yeah, fade to black.
That would be so funny.
NFL street cover.
Landon, stop recording this thing.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
I like this. This is fun.
That's actually a hilarious ending.